what we got going on right now, is not best for human beings.
No, I agree.
They are really pushing that this whole gender bullshit is best for us. We need to be, we need to support them. They have a right. Like, look, I'm someone who thinks that we only have one life. Like, honestly, we do. We got one life.
I think that's a fact.
If you no, oh yeah, cheers. Yeah. Fact check me. Wait, look, no, we got one life, okay? And if you want to live your life a certain way, go and do it.
Exactly.
I
If you're an
could
adult,
not give a
couldn't
fuck.
care, right?
If
Your
you want to
choice.
chop your dick off
Yeah.
and pretend to be a woman, go hard. Go hard. Well, not literally anymore, but look, go hard.
At least
do
if
what
you're
you
like 18 or older, right? Yeah.
do whatever you want to do, but don't start pushing that on more than me, my kids in school.
Yeah, exactly.
You're pushing that on everyone in society, like this is normal. Oh, don't fuck with it.
No, totally. It's very
Oh,
dangerous.
don't fuck with it.
It's very dangerous.
But and you also, if you want to go down that path, you
Mm.
also kind of need to be self-aware enough to be like, I'm a bit weird. No, I think so. I think you do, but like if you're gonna do some weird shit, you need to understand.
Good luck with that. Good luck with trying to get that self-image in there, because there's a huge defense against that now, right? About admitting that maybe some of this sort of stuff comes from some kind of, scar tissue somewhere, maybe, or something. And I'd like to be able to talk about it openly with people, but it's very difficult. I just was off the phone the other day with a friend from high school who, she's right in the middle of, she's in Vermont or something, or New Hampshire. She's right in the middle of everything blue. All the sort of left wing, whatever stuff is all over the place. And her daughter almost got caught up in this, and she almost cut off her boobs, right?
Wow.
And this was like 5
that's
years ago or something.
scary.
I know.
That's
and this is what
scary.
woke her up, because she was also very much hard left, for like, I remember in high school she was definitely.
Yep.
And now, and she was talking to me, she's like, Gigi, I can't believe what's happening. I'm starting to wake up. I just realized, because my daughter almost got. And then like, 2 or 3 years later, the daughter was like, Mom, I think I'm just gay. And the mother was like, oh, right. So thank goodness, right? So, okay, you're not going to mutilate yourself. You're just going to get to adulthood, and then fine, you'll figure it out. But it was her maternal love, basically, that, opened her eyes, that caused her to stop just eating the candy with the wrapper on all the time, right? It's like, no, I really got to figure out what's in that candy.
So this is the thing that's happening to so many kids is like, there's things that I'm embarrassed about from my childhood. Like, fuck, I can't believe I wore that. That wasn't fucking cool. What the fuck am I doing there? Oh, that's cringe. You know what I mean? Kids nowadays are going to grow up and be like, cut my cock off.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, unbelievable consequences.
God
Unbelievable. And this is not healthy for these children.
It's shocking.
I mean, you think that this is going to help them. I mean, maybe briefly for, a couple months at some point. It's like the vaccines, maybe you get some kind of brief feeling of relief or something, and then you got to carry this stuff with hormone treatment and an unhealthy body, basically, for the rest of your life.
Yeah, that's
for the rest of your life.
It's
right?
gone now for good.
And these people somehow, they can't vote, and they can't decide whether to, travel on their own. They can't do so many things, but yet we let them mutilate their bodies.
Yeah.
Like their actual reproductive potential, we let them mess with that. Like, that's just insane, right? It's insane. So no matter how, I agree with you. Like, I'm very kind of, I don't like to call myself a particular thing, but kind of libertarian minded-esque, I guess, in terms of like, let people do what they want, because that's where we get innovation, actually, right? We actually you allow people to try stuff out, and you realize what works and what doesn't.
Like,
right?
I actually don't have a problem with transgenders. I
neither
like,
do I.
Honestly, if you want to do that, go do that.
Fine, do it, whatever.
Do it.
But I don't see. I believe enough in sort of that not being a successful strategy for everybody, that I don't think that it's going to sort of spread and make everybody transgender. Like, I'm never going to want to be a boy. Sorry, I'm just not.
Yeah.
I just don't think it's going to spread that much. We will discover. I have faith in humanity. We will discover that is not a workable direction for most people to go on our own, without having to suppress it or ban it or something else. Because as soon as you ban stuff and suppress stuff, it becomes taboo and it becomes cooler, and it becomes, there's a black market and all this sort of stuff. Right?
But this brings me back to the whole school system, because I don't think they are like schools are making this okay.
I know
they are making this okay.
And you know whose responsibility?
So
is?
I don't know who is going to stand up against it and be like
the parents. The parents are the only ones.
The parents are allowing this.
I know, and they are failing their children.
100%.
So
they're ruining their children's lives.
Absolutely. That is where the responsibility must lie. The parents have to discover their love for their kids, and they have to discover their sanity, and they got to bring it to the schools and say, we do not accept this. That is just that is what has to happen. And if that means that some parents have to stay out of paid work because they have to be around to be shadowing, the school teachers or the story hours or whatever's happening, then so be it. That's a sacrifice you got to
It's
make.
kind of set up for us to fail because not many people are going to be willing to
But
stand up against a
sure, not
system
right
like
now,
that.
not right now. But back in 2020, March 2020, I thought there were not many people. But now look at me having this conversation with you, and look at us having conversations with people all over the place now about stuff we couldn't talk about at the time: lockdowns, mask mandates, social distancing. I mean, you can even talk about the vaccines a little bit now, right?
Yeah.
And that's totally different. So we do move, right? We make progress as a society, and you just got to start somewhere. And so if you are a parent with a kid in a school that's doing this sort of stuff, make your views known to the principal. Say, this is not okay.
Yeah.
And I will talk to the media. I
Yeah.
will write to my congressperson or my MP.
I've thought about how I'm going to be in this type of situation as a
Yep.
dad.
Good.
I will.
Because
I will
you gotta
pull up at
protect.
the fucking school.
You got to protect them.
And I will let that president know. And to
Yep.
be president, fucking
Principal.
the principal. I've actually thought like when it does come time for her to go to school.
Yeah.
I'm gonna kind of be interviewing schools.
Absolutely,
Like
you
honestly,
should.
I'm not just gonna enroll my kid to any school. I want to meet the principal. I want to
Yep.
talk to him.
Yep.
I want to be like, what's going on here?
What are your principles?
Yeah, 100%.
So to speak.
What do you-
Principles of the principal. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you want to visit some classes. You want to see what kind of programming they have for the kids.
Yeah.
And oftentimes they have the programming they have because that's what's on offer. If the parents say, hey, I can run a math class, hey, I'll teach calculus to the year 11s, or hey, I'll teach, primary school teachers, whatever, I don't know, literacy or woodworking or whatever it is. Offer that because that makes it easier for the principal. You
Yep.
make it easier for the principal to say yes, and that makes it more likely the thing will happen. So if you have, we'll organize a story hour with, people who are reading to the kids books that are sort of standard in the canon, like The Little Engine That Could or Dr. Seuss or whatever, right? Instead of some of the newfangled weird stuff that's coming down the tracks, just go back to what I read when I was a kid, and the 80s was not a bad time actually for babies books, kids books. And so I still have some of my own books. I'm going to give them to my daughter when she has kids, right? Because
even,
it's like,
even
that's great.
kids books and kids shows and whatnot.
Exactly.
Are you seeing some of the shit they're watching?
It's awful.
There's a show about, I don't know what it's called, but it's like a transgender horse.
Oh my gosh.
Full cartoon. It's like, actually, I feel like whatever the
Oh
fuck.
my gosh.
Right, and this is what kids are watching. Like.
Look, but the only thing you can do is have some alternative available, because what gets rid of that is competition.
Yeah.
It's just economics. It's basic economics, right?
Mhm.
And so I'm doing the same thing. I'm trying to do the same thing in the area of all the reforms that I'm thinking about, right? It's like we got to have an alternative system here and prove that in pilots or small scale implementation that it can work, and then that will draw business essentially away from the models that are failing. So if you prove you can create better health in a healthy community with not so many big pharma drugs and more focus on nutrition and family and all sorts of stuff that's positive for health, then that will be attractive for people because they genuinely do want to be healthier. Most of them, they'd rather be healthy than not healthy. It's like money. You'd rather have more than, not have as much. And so that provides an alternative, because at the moment there's very little alternative to the standard, medical system, and similarly to the standard programming for kids in the television or the standard educational curricula. So you need to have an alternative for people to go to.
But like when you look at, for example, the last election result, that was a landslide. That was a landslide.
I think it was not as much of a landslide as it was said, but yes, it was definitely very, very pro-labor. Yep.
Yeah. And so like how many people are really Labor represents that whole
Yeah,
group.
but you're
And you know what's a problem? Oh, let me just tell you real quick. Susan Ley becoming the leader of the Liberal Party.
Yeah.
Literally my last preference. I was like, when I saw that happened, I was like,
oh
bro,
my gosh.
we're cooked.
Yeah, but
We're
see,
cooked.
but when you say it's a landslide, right? I think some people make the mistake to say, everybody who voted for Labor or for that matter for Liberal, really thought it through and knew what the policies were, and on consideration and reflection decided to vote for Labor. Not true, right? The vast majority of people who voted for Labor, I would guess, like way over 60%, will have just sort of cast the vote for that party because that's what they've always done. Their parents have done. They think if that's the thing to do. It's a social identity thing.
Yeah.
It's a habit thing. It has nothing to do with thought.
More people need to start, really asking questions and just wake up I was raised Labor. My
Yep.
dad's Labor hard. Still to this day, we have mad arguments about it.
Wow.
Still to this day.
Interesting. That must be so interesting.
Yeah, it is interesting. And like every family dinner, I'm like, so my boy Donald Trump. Start mad beef.
Look, it's great you can have those conversations.
Yeah,
That's
no, it's good because
actually
there's
huge.
no like actual beef between me and my dad, obviously, but we've got different political views. So I
Look,
love talking to him about politics.
And you're so lucky. My father has been totally estranged from my two half brothers, his two sons, on the Trump issue.
Yeah.
So my dad is very pro, and my two half brothers are dyed in the wool Democrats.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
And they've even said some nasty stuff to me on email, even though I kind of stay out of the political stuff as much as I can. But they're completely delusional, right? And my dad has lost and he's 94, and he's lost his relationships with his sons over this
See,
political stuff.
Yeah, my missus actually always tells me like, Jack, don't talk politics. It's
Yeah.
like, don't talk politics because
That was always
it'll
the
cause big family
advice.
drama.
Yeah.
I'm like, bro, I don't give a fuck.
The advice was don't talk about politics or religion, right? Those are the two you got to stay away from, supposedly. I don't know. But I think honestly, like I find I have the most interesting conversations with people about exactly those two things,
Yeah.
right? And without having to like take a stand on anything
Yeah.
necessarily, but just explore people's beliefs.
I really want to talk to people with different views.
Totally. Me too.
And look,
Absolutely.
honestly, like I've only just gotten into politics in very recent years,
Yep.
like over the last year or two.
Yep.
And I'm not that knowledgeable, but like, come educate me, honestly. Come
Yeah.
teach me, tell me your way of thinking.
Absolutely.
Tell me why you think what you think. I'll hear you out.
Yep.
Like, I'm not gonna see you as the other side, and like, we're not enemies, man.
Yeah,
We're
no,
all
exactly.
humans.
Everybody's human.
We're all
Everybody's
human.
human, right? And
I
you just
respect
wanna,
your beliefs.
Totally. I know. I don't care what people believe.
Of
I
course.
always say this, right? I really just could not care less what people believe. I want to be able to come across, people I can have a conversation with
Yeah.
about what we're going to do,
Yeah.
right? Not just what is the truth, what is the belief, because we never know truth. We're always trying to get to it. We always have our best guess in our head, but like people are going to differ and whatever. What we have to decide on is what are we going to do as a society? How are we going to build our society? What's the institution going to look like? And how are we going to set up the various services that we need? And what's the right balance between public and private sector? And all these kinds of questions, right? About how you set up a Western society. And we need to collaborate on that stuff. And if we are just saying, well, I'm going to cancel anybody who doesn't have the same beliefs as me, you're basically canceling everybody else in the world.
100%.
Because you're never going to have
And this is why
exactly
people are
the same
scared to
beliefs.
speak up.
Exactly.
This is why people are scared to speak up. They're scared to be cancelled.
They're scared to be canceled and then left out on the cold, right?
100%.
And then they're not part of any kind of conversation, right?
Yeah, like,
So
this
we
is a
need to
big
have so
problem.
much more of this. And
This
I
is
mean,
a-
I've had people refuse to share a stage with me on COVID policy issues,
Yeah,
right?
so that's cool.
Who are
That's
just
fucked
who
up.
are pro, and I'm like, I want to have a conversation. Please, I
Yeah.
really want to have a conversation about this.
Yeah.
Tell me what was going on because I have my theories about it. Maybe I'm wrong,
Yeah.
right? I mean, we could always be wrong. You always have to have that humility as a scientist, right? You always give your best guess, but and you can make the arguments for it or whatever. But then it's like, well, but it could be wrong, and I want to be proven wrong. Oh my God, I'd love to be proven wrong about
Yeah.
COVID,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, please.
so far it hasn't happened.
Please.
I would really love it,
Yeah.
right? I mean, we really need that. So I think Australia as a whole, we need to find a way to talk to each other again. We need to have a
Yeah.
kind of reconciliation, kind of like, and I've talked about this before, but I think one of the models we could follow is the Truth and Reconciliation Commission from South Africa after apartheid. They had this model. It was very community based. It was like people get together, like Black people, white people, and just talk to each other and say, when you did this, it hurt my family. And the other guy says, I'm sorry. Right. And they talk, okay, here are the pains that have happened. And the guy says, I really didn't mean that. Or I tried this and I was really misguided and I was just going for such and such. And I can see now it was wrong. And that kind of conversation, like we know that kind of conversation heals people in relationships. It can heal people in communities too.
Yeah.
And we need to have space for that. And we need to platform that sort of stuff. And we're doing none of that now. Zero of that, right? It's just more flame throwing and mudslinging and canceling, and it's just not going in the right direction at the moment. So I hope that we will get there, but it's going to be a few years still, at least, I think.